The patrols returned to the cave as the sun fell. Clouds gathered overhead, promising rain in the night. Inside, purple shadows were darkening as the sun's light retreated. The hunting patrols dropped their prey onto the pile, taking inventory. The clan cats had managed to catch a few mice and a rabbit or two, but tribe cats carried most of the larger prey. Riverpaw stood by as Cloud and Hannah faced the 3 Thunder Clan cats. It was great getting to know my sister's new friends. We should hunt together again sometime. Echopaw nodded eagerly, and Stonepaw smiled, throwing a glance at Riverpaw. The brown cat simply inclined her head a bit, then awkwardly meowed. Hannah, thank you for looking after my brother. The gray she-cat smiled. I'd be lying if I said it was no trouble, but I'm happy to do it. Cloud rolled his eyes and licked the she-cat's cheek. Then the 2 of them retreated toward the other end of the cave. Riverpaw watched them go, a strange heaviness in her heart. Shaking her head, she tried to push the feeling away as she turned to her friends. Have you thought about the wolves at all? No, I was too busy focusing on hunting. Did you see how they took down that eagle? Echopaw buzzed. She stared off into the darkness with excitement blazing in her eyes. I wonder if anyone's tried to ride one. Maybe Hannah could teach me how to get on top of one. Then I could fly it over the mountains back to the clans. Stonepaw flicked his sister's ear with his tail. Echo, Riverpaw was asking a serious question. It won't be long before we talk to Stoneteller about how to defeat the wolves again. Besides, there won't be any more eagles if the wolves all chase them away. Echopaw looked at her brother in dismay. But then I won't be able to ride one. This is definitely of the utmost importance then. Let's go join the others now. The she-cat bounded off, and the 2 remaining apprentices watched her in amused exasperation. They were about to follow when Ashhart's voice stopped them. Actually, you 3 better get some sleep. This discussion will be for warriors and tribe cats only. Riverpaw looked around at her mentor with a spark of indignation. We're part of this mission too, though, Stonepaw spoke up, and Ashhart gave him a stern stare. No, you are not. Riverpaw was here to find her brother. She has. You 2 are here against your clan's wishes. You have no part in this mission anymore. I will not stop you from partaking in patrols and other duties as long as you do not get in the way. But as for the wolves, I'd like you to stay out of it. Riverpaw felt a strange streak of fear race through her, and she opened her mouth to argue. Before she could speak, Ashhart held up his tail. My word is final. This mission is growing far more dangerous with each passing moment, and I will not have Thunder Clan apprentices dying before they get home and finish their training. The clan needs warriors, not bodies. There was nothing the 2 young cats could say to that, and so Ashhart patted away. Echopaw was sent back to them a moment later, tail dragging. So, I guess we've been banished, Stonepaw murmured, a trace of anger in his tone. Riverpaw was meditating on the fear that she had felt. What was she afraid of? Ashhart was right. Her mission was completed. She'd found Cloud. That was all she came to do. Yet, for some reason, the idea of being excluded from the discussion, of only partaking in tribe activities, was terrifying to her. Come on, the silver-striped cat meowed to her friends. Let's get some sleep. Maybe in the morning... She couldn't finish the thought. We can go exploring the territory a bit, Echopaw completed, bumping Riverpaw's shoulder. The brown cat looked at the tortoiseshell and smiled weakly. Yeah, that sounds good. The 3 reluctantly curled into their moss nests in the furrow, and Riverpaw closed her eyes. It was quite a while before the she-cat managed to drift away to sleep, and when she did, a familiar nightmare greeted her. She was standing in the mist again. Pillars of stone rising around her. Howls sounded in the distance, and she picked her way forward carefully, not making a sound. A figure, the cat in the mist, shifted in the pall, darting out of sight. Riverpaw quickened her pace, hoping to catch the mysterious cat. Soon she was racing forward, and she found she couldn't swallow the words anymore. Who are you? The she-cat called. The response was immediate. A large, dark figure rose in front of her, gaping jaws revealing teeth sharp as broken glass. Her eyes widened in terror as it leaned forward to snap her in half. But she was gone, floating away in a gap between dreams. For a moment, she was relieved, until she realized which dream she was floating towards. "No, please, I've seen it enough," Riverpaw cried, but could not run or change direction. She was standing over her mother's body, staring down at the scar-ridden pelt. The calico fur shifted in the wind, and the eyes stared away, glassy and lifeless. Soon, Shard's body began to ripple, and Riverpaw was staring down at a younger cat, no older than 5 moons. The silver-striped apprentice stumbled away, closing her eyes and covering her ears with her paws, knowing what she would hear next. Well done. Riverpaw woke with tears in her eyes and a sharp lump in her throat. Quickly she wiped her face, licking a paw and running it over her whiskers. She felt the rough patch of fur above her eye, split by a claw mark that would never go away. The apprentice paused in her cleaning and stared off into the shadows, still dark before sunrise. A rustling sound to her right, and she looked around to find amber eyes glowing out of the shifting shadows. "Riverpaw, were you having a nightmare?" Ashheart called softly, careful not to wake the others. Riverpaw hesitated. She knew that Tom was perceptive. He would detect her lie, but she could feel the heaviness in her throat and knew she didn't want to discuss it. "No, just not sleeping well in these nests." Her mentor nodded acceptance, but Riverpaw could see the flash of doubt. "They are a bit unusual. Try to go back to sleep. We'll be going on patrol tomorrow to see the territory." "I thought we weren't part of the wolf problem anymore," she whispered, unable to keep a slight bitterness from her tone. The Tom simply cocked his head. "This is a simple border patrol, not to do with the wolves. If we did run into them out there, I trust you know to run immediately." He shifted around and laid his head on his paws again. Closing his eyes, Riverpaw stared at him for a moment. Then she did the same. She stayed frozen and awake until daybreak. "This is where our territory meets the seasons trees," Tiger explained. The ginger Tom had become a sort of guide for the clan cats, but he never complained. That morning, he had woke them and seen that they were fed, then led them along the edge of the Eastern Territory with the help of one other tribe cat, Gray Feather of a small bird. The group was paused on the edge of a narrow valley, grass and plants poking out here and there. The ground was wet from last night's rain, and Tiger warned of falling rocks as they padded beside the steep cliffs. The valley before them veered off deeper into the season trees territory, while the tribe of Rushing Waters territory continued into an outcropping of rocks and pathways. This the clan cats followed as they continued their patrol. Riverpaw's legs ached from the constant walking and climbing, and her eyelids drooped from their troubled sleep. She did not complain, however, as she knew Ashheart would begin to pry if she showed any hesitance or weakness. Instead, she used her growing frustration to push herself forward. Meanwhile, Stonepaw and Echopaw gazed around in wonder, taking in the tribe's territory with shining eyes. "Leafbear here must be terrible," Stonepaw commented as the group scrambled up a steep incline. It was Gray who responded. The prey hunter was a humorous Tom with a pleasant sense of humor. He smiled at the young cat. "You forest cats sure are strange. I'm guessing Leafbear means the snow moons. Yes, it is quite treacherous during that time. Last snow moon we were buried up over our heads. I nearly suffocated in the stuff." Echopaw immediately pricked her ears. "You have that much snow here? Wow, I wish I could see." Tiger looked around at the she-cat dubiously. "You would not be saying that if you felt the cold and hunger the snow moons bring. Be glad you were here during the sun moons. The weather is well, and prey still runs despite the wolves. I shiver thinking what might happen if they're still here when it grows colder." The mood, however light before, darkened at these words, and the clan cats exchanged a meaningful glance. Riverpaw could feel the urgency within the cats grow. Even Featherfall, who had tried to maintain her aloof attitude toward the mission, seemed to grow more focused. They had only been in the mountains a few days now, but the matter was already more desperate with newfound perspective. They continued forward for the rest of the day, taking breaks to hunt when prey scampered across their path. Only once did they encounter any sign of the wolves, but it was still a chilling moment. A howl sounded so near and so loudly, it seemed to reverberate through the cat's bones. They all froze immediately, eyes flicking around for any sign of the creatures. Although they saw no wolves, Riverpaw caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of her eye. She whipped around to face the blur, but it was gone beyond a rocky bridge. Her heart raced, but something told her whatever she had seen was not a wolf. After that, they all proceeded very carefully until they finally returned to the cave. The tribe's territory was so large, the patrol had taken all day, and the clan cats were ready to settle into their nests. The only one who retained any energy was Echo Paw, who, with Ashheart's permission, trotted across the cave to talk to some of the tribe cats. As Riverpaw plopped into her nest, Stonepaw hesitantly came over and began to lick the dust from her pelt. The she-cat purred, closing her eyes and relaxing at her friend's rhythmic strokes. When he had finished, she meowed softly. "Thank you." He seemed unsure of what to say at first, then seemed to decide on a grin. "I didn't do it for nothing. My turn." Riverpaw laughed and pushed herself up. "You're so mean," she murmured, but began to lick his pelt clean as well. When she had nearly finished, Echo Paw approached with a group of young tribe cats, about the same age as the three apprentices. "Really think there's a cat like that?" Echo Paw was meowing, eyes sparkling as she listened to a silver tabby she-cat. "I mean, I doubt it," the she-cat said. "It's just a rumor." "It's more than that," another tabby meowed, her blue eyes glimmering. She grinned at Echo Paw. "There have been multiple sightings. I bet there really is a cat wolf out there." Riverpaw paused and looked over at the group, suddenly interested. A brown tom flicked his tail. "It's impossible, though. I mean, how could a cat possibly live with wolves?" "We should find it and ask," the tabby replied, laughing. "That's not funny, Storm," the silver responded, flattening her ears. "If we went looking for it, then that would mean running right into the wolves, too." "Be calm, Silver. I'm only joking," Storm replied. Echo Paw crouched, buzzing with excitement. She noticed Riverpaw watching them and leapt toward her friend. "Doesn't it sound cool? Some in the tribe say they've seen a cat running with the wolves. I wish I could meet someone like that." Riverpaw remained silent, barely hearing her friend, while Stonepaw looked up in annoyance. "It isn't possible, Echo Paw. If cats and dogs can't live together, how could a cat possibly live with the wolves?" Echo Paw simply placed a paw on her brother's head and grinned. "Open your mind, Stonebrain. It's fun to imagine, all right?" Stonepaw shook her off and grumbled to himself, curling into his nest. Echo Paw waved goodbye to the tribe cats before settling in as well. Riverpaw lingered for a few more moments. A cat that lives with wolves. She let out a sigh and shook her head. No, Stonepaw's right. It isn't possible. She closed her eyes, and her mind drifted. A prick of fear touched her heart at the thought of sleeping, but she couldn't stop herself. After the night before and the walk that day, she was gone before she had a chance to hesitate. Hey, so thank you guys for listening to the story. I am so sorry for my sporadic schedule right now. I know I've only uploaded twice in the last 2 months. To be fair, I've been upgrading my setup. I've gotten a new mic and a audio interface that's not just a condenser mic setup anymore, so it doesn't pick up as much as it used to. And I honestly thought I'd have it all sooner than it took to get it, hence why it took so long to really fall back into things. I didn't want to put things out at the quality I was having them because I was really having some issues with the noise the condenser mic was giving, but I also didn't want it to seem like things weren't going to continue. So starting from now, things will be going back to their normal pace with the uploads on 4 days a week, and then whenever I finish Soul of a Wolf or Bound by the Moon chapters, since those ones are still a bit touch and go depending on creativity. But thank you guys for sticking around. I am so sorry it took so long. But I hope you are excited to have the uploads back. And again, I am so, so sorry.